The Israeli-Palestinian issue is one of the most contentious international conflicts in the world today. With over 40 years of occupation in Gaza and the West Bank, a solution to the dispute seems even more problematic now than it has been ever in the past. With existing Israeli policies of settlement expansion and a very fractured Palestinian leadership, the dispute seems far away from being solved any time in the near future. Israeli Apartheid Week is a campus-based initiative that started in Toronto, Canada, over 5 years ago and has now expanded to over 50 universities across the world in North America, Europe, the West Bank, and Gaza. The campaign was formed to raise awareness to Israeli policies of settlement building on Palestinian land, the creation of the highly controversial wall in the West Bank, and to the existing occupation of Arab lands that includes the Golan Heights.
If you look at apartheid systems historically, I think South Africa and America in the 1950s and 60s, and look at Israel, I think what comes to mind is sort of a segregation of two culturally similar but also different groups, and the creation of second-class citizenship, unequal legal representation, and unequal civil liberties. And I think that that's definitely what's going on in Israel.
I think it's a really interesting and contentious issue, and I would really like to learn more about it. I think I don't know enough to actually form an opinion, so I think the events that are going on would really be helpful to kind of see what the real issue is and what's happening around it.
What do you want from us? I just want to go and see my brother. What did you say? Hey, what's up?
The Palestine Society here at Sussex have recreated an Israeli checkpoint, a security barrier portraying the treatment of Palestinian citizens. Its detractors argue of daily human rights abuses and humiliating behavior of Palestinian citizens. Its proponents, however, say that it is vital to Israel's security against attacks on its citizens. Would you say this is an accurate representation of what happens at checkpoints in Israel?
Well, it's quite a good representation. They're not really using enough violence to show the reality over there, and plus in these situations you could actually get shot, you know, like you could get shot if, like, probably you saw one of them trying to speak up or stand up. This doesn't really happen. Like, a Palestinian is not allowed, and they know that if they do that they will get arrested and they will get shot probably.
I do firmly believe that there are people on both sides that have been taken unwillingly to wear, you know, uniforms and go and shoot other people. You know, I am from the country where a lot of my friends have been snatched out, you know, from their beds in the night without having any choice, you know, wearing uniforms and going and killing other people in order not to be killed themselves, you know. And I think, you know, the enactments like this, you know, are kind of quite careless towards people that have been through it.
In response, there tends to be a divided opinion on the activities of the campaign. Its critics argue that it is not only a false reflection of the current situation in Gaza and the West Bank, but is highly offensive by using the suffering under the old apartheid regime in South Africa to demonize the state of Israel and its supporters. Many have termed the week-long event as biased, anti-Israeli, and perhaps anti-Semitic too. Amidst the debate and controversy surrounding the event, many have come in support of the initiative. Some have gone so far to claim that the term apartheid is not only an overstatement, but an understatement, arguing that the situation in the occupied territories is worse than South African apartheid.
Well, I think the element of comparison is definitely relevant to the situation, although making a complete analogy between the two situations is taking things a bit too far. I've never heard people say that describing Israel as an apartheid state was delegitimizing the whole Palestinian struggle, because elements that belong obviously to the situation in apartheid are what they are, and they have been atrocious. But in a similar way, what's happening in Palestine is also in the same vein as that. I mean, the occupation of the land, the unfair treatment of Palestinians, the way they don't kind of possess the same rights as citizens of Israel, but also as just Palestinian, their right to travel, the way they're exploited by Israeli companies. All of this kind of makes us think that the term apartheid is applicable to Palestinians too.
there are debates about whether Israeli state is an apartheid state, but those people who contest this description normally have a very legal description and understanding of what apartheid is. However, if you take a broader understanding of apartheid in terms of politically enforced segregation of a population on the basis of race, color, religion, or other affiliation, then you could see that Israeli practices amount to apartheid practices, in fact, in the occupied territories, whether in terms of limiting or preventing access to various services, to natural resources, to water, to health, to education, to work. So on all these levels you could observe that there are discrimination systematically enforced and upheld by Israeli legal system.
How effective do you think the BDS movement has been in recent years? That tends to be a big part of the Israeli Apartheid Week. Do you think it has borne any fruit, or have you seen any significant changes on the ground, especially in Israel?
I think, I mean, again, the BDS movement is turned to the outside, and people that are criticizing the BDS movement tend to say, oh, the occupation is still there, people are still dying. But then if you look at the bigger picture and the outside, again, this week, Israeli Apartheid Week, there's 27 countries around the world doing it, events every day all over the place. More and more prominent people are taking part in the cultural boycott, such as Ken Loach and other filmmakers. Lots of musicians haven't gone to Israel recently. Cat Power also said like she wouldn't go. So I think it's worked, and the event tonight also showed it.
The Palestinians have been abused by Israel. I don't detract from that. I stand in demonstrations every week about that. Okay, I'm not detracting anything from what you're saying. But to say that the Palestinian refugees are in squalid camps in Syria because of Israel and not because of the Ba'ath
places is actually taking away from the reason that Palestinian refugees are there. Now, 1 in 4 Palestinians worldwide are refugees. 750,000 Palestinians were made refugees in 1948, and then it's up to millions nowadays.
You know, with your message and with this whole campaign, do you think it's possible, or maybe even understandable, that certain Israeli students or Jewish students might feel intimidated by the message that you're trying to send out?
I mean, definitely, I would understand why. It's a question of identity. Most Jewish people, and there are some who support the Palestinian cause very fervently within Israel, but also abroad in the diaspora, and many people are involved in it. Many organizations within Israel exist. So there's the Rabbis for the Defense of Palestinians, there's also the Jews for the Boycott from Within. All these organizations show that there's a lot of Jewish support and even Israeli support for the Palestinian cause. Now, I would understand that people feel a bit offended and find things too contentious for them, and identify with Israel when they're Jews, and therefore might feel a bit intimidated by the whole thing. But I think this is what we also aim to do specifically with the checkpoint today, is to highlight what the situation is for the Palestinians on a daily basis.
While Israeli Apartheid Week is controversial, to say the least, it has only become more prominent over the years and does not look likely to slow down. However, in response to the week, many groups have now emerged around campuses around the world, trying to dispel the myth that there is Israeli apartheid in the territories, trying to highlight Israel's dedication to peace and its respect for human rights. This is Muneeb reporting for UniTV from Library Square.